This torrential downpour disrupted the 1981 French Grand Prix at Dijon. But nothing could dampen the home fans' spirits. Despite struggling with a loose front wing, Alain Prost was making ground and closing in on the leader before the heavens opened.
And out goes the red flag! They're stopping the race!
When the skies cleared and the race was restarted, Prost's brave gamble to switch to slick tyres proved a lesson to his rivals as he beat everyone to the first corner. Defending his position from a rampant John Watson, a masterful maiden victory driving for a French team on home soil. It was the stuff dreams are made of. The final race in Formula One's maiden 1950 season was the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. 10 Italian drivers lined up on the starting grid, and Giuseppe Nino Farina was one of them. Lying third in the World Championship, Farina needed to do considerably better than leader Juan Manuel Fangio to secure the first world title. It was a race of attrition. Only 7 of the 26 starters saw the checkered flag, and Fangio was one of the many who retired. Farina, though, pushed his Alfa Romeo 158 to an emphatic victory, becoming the only driver to win the World Championship at his home Grand Prix. A decade on from its last appearance on the Formula One calendar, the Nürburgring returned to host the 1995 European Grand Prix. The home fans went wild as Benetton's Michael Schumacher embarked on a stunning late charge, lapping an incredible 1.7 seconds quicker than the next fastest driver. That was Ferrari's Jean Alesi, whom he passed with this gutsy move before easing his way to victory on a memorable day for the German driver.
It was very close, and I have to say I've always enjoyed fighting with Jean, because he's always fantastic fights we have.
The 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix is best remembered for Lewis Hamilton's last lap overtake on Timo Glock to secure the World Championship.
Is that Glock going slowly?
It is, it's Glock! Oh my goodness me! You will never see a more dramatic conclusion to any motor race, let alone a Grand Prix, than that.
But what can't be overlooked is Felipe Massa's masterful and commanding drive around Interlagos to win his second race on home soil. The Ferrari driver was fastest all weekend and started from his third consecutive pole position in his hometown of Sao Paulo. As the track dried and the pit stop shuffles played out, the Brazilian extended his lead, posting the fastest lap of the race and scoring a magnificent and emotional home win. It would prove to be his final victory in a spectacular career.
We finished in the front, and we have to be very proud about that. And unfortunately, we missed 1 point. And but that's racing. I mean, we need to be proud. We need to be proud about our job.
The 1965 British Grand Prix saw an epic battle between two home drivers, BRM's Graham Hill and Jim Clark, driving for Lotus. The Scotsman led from the off, but with less than a quarter of the 80-lap race to go, his Lotus developed an oil pressure problem. To save his ailing motor, Clark devised a plan to cut off the engine through the fast corners and restart it again on the straights. This had the desired effect, but it meant his lead over Hill was reducing rapidly. On the final lap, Hill was on his tail, but Clark nursed his stricken Lotus over the line with John Surtees, John Spence and Jackie Stewart, making it an all-British top 5, and a day for the home fans to savour.
Niki Lauda very much a national hero because he is of course Austrian, although he's never won his home Grand Prix.
Niki Lauda started the 1984 Austrian Grand Prix in 4th place. Ahead of him, the Lotus of Elio De Angelis suffered an engine failure, with Alain Prost, Lauda's McLaren teammate, hitting the resultant oil slick and crashing out.
He spins backwards into the barriers, out of second place and out of the race.
Lauda soon chased down the Brabham of Nelson Piquet, sweeping past the Brazilian. But with 15 laps to go, Lauda developed a gearbox issue and was preparing to retire, but decided to coast back to the pit lane. On the way, he discovered he could still find 3rd and 5th gears and carried on racing, coaxing everything he could from his limping car to secure an unlikely but crucial victory.
To win the Austrian race as an Austrian racing driver, I think this is for them and even for me a nice thing to achieve, because not many people can win their home Grand Prix, and I was one of them.
The streets of Valencia played host to the 2012 European Grand Prix, and Spain's Fernando Alonso gave the home fans a race to remember. Starting from 11th on the grid, the two-time world champion presented a masterclass in overtaking, rapidly manoeuvring his Ferrari through the field to the delight of the partisan crowd.
One of the most satisfying and unlikely victories of his career.
Difficult to express in words what is the feeling at the moment. In terms of emotions, nothing may be compared to this one.
Lewis Hamilton was in his second season with McLaren when he won his maiden British Grand Prix. Fourth as the lights went out at a wet Silverstone, Hamilton got the better start and almost took the lead at the first turn, but for some fierce defending,
Kovalainen's not having that uncompromising driving by Kovalainen.
Hamilton continued to hassle the Finn for the lead, which he finally took on lap 5.
This is where Mansell passed Piquet. Hamilton has gone past Kovalainen in an equally memorable pass.
With standing water causing rivals to spin and aquaplane, Hamilton demonstrated his youthful mastery of wet weather driving, dominating the race with his victory celebrations proving just how much it meant to him.
It's been a tough weekend, but we've done it. We've bloody done it. Fantastic.
It's by far the best victory I've ever had. I think it was one of the toughest races I've ever done, and I believe strongly, as I was driving, I was thinking, this is, if I win this will definitely go down as the best race I've ever won.
It was during his 8th season in Formula One that the great Ayrton Senna finally won his home Grand Prix. But it very nearly didn't happen at all. Senna led from the start in a dominant display in Sao Paulo, but with victory in sight, his McLaren's gearbox began to fail, the Brazilian maestro losing a succession of gears until only 6th was available. It took all the reigning champion's skill and nerve to nurse the wounded car to the end of the race, holding off a flying Riccardo Patrese to take the win. Overcome by the emotion and the massive effort involved, Senna wilted on the podium in front of his adoring fans, barely able to lift the trophy. Nigel Mansell cemented his place in the hearts of British fans at Silverstone in 1987. Lining up beside teammate Nelson Piquet, the pair quickly dealt with the challenge of McLaren's Alain Prost. The race then became a battle between the two Williams Honda men, with Mansell pitting for fresh tyres and dropping a long way back. But an epic charge saw him break the lap record a spectacular 11 times as he hunted down Piquet and made this incredible pass at Stoke.
And Mansell's through.
Nigel Mansell has demonstrated psychological superiority over his double world champion teammate Nelson Piquet.
Running on fumes as he took the checkered flag, Mansell's Williams ground to a halt as the adoring fans poured onto the track to celebrate with their hero.